Hello and welcome to episode 785 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan. I am one of the co-founders here at ETR, and we're coming off of a easy game kind of week. Yes, that's right. All you had to do in week 5 was play the Joe Burrow doubles against the Ravens, and you are rich. Some of you may recall that in December of 2021, Burrow lit up the Ravens for 525 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, and most of the production was concentrated to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Fast forward to just a few days ago, this past Sunday, Burrow goes for 392 yards and 5 touchdowns against the Ravens, and again, almost all concentrated to T and Chase. Just a quick note on that. When thinking about whether to play a single stack or a double stack in DFS tournaments, I think it's important to consider a couple things like who is the quarterback? On Burrow, we know he's not going to run very much. We know they have one of the highest pass rate over expectations in the entire NFL. We know they lack difference-making talent at the wide receiver 3 and tight end spots. That's very different than something like Daniel Jones, who runs a lot, takes sacks, throw rate isn't that high. They use multiple tight ends and multiple wide receiver 3s. Not that Daniel Jones or Justin Fields can't get there with a double stack, like we've seen them do it, but it's just not the ideal setup. Whereas Burrow's, the way he plays, I think, is more of an ideal setup for a double stack. And then also when thinking about how many pass catchers to use, it's like how concentrated can a team get? There's just a lot of value in knowing that when X quarterback goes off, this is who we need. These pass catchers are who we need. The Stroud double, CJ Stroud double in week 3 when Tank Dell was out was a good example. It's harder, although often less owned, to do things like Patrick Mahomes doubles. Mahomes will throw to any of 10 guys on a given game, including crazy, weird plays at the goal line to linemen and third string tight ends. They had Travis Kelce take a goal line snap last night, but I digress. The point is that I think it's a mistake to get locked onto, hey, I always double my quarterback. I always double stack my quarterback, or hey, I always single stack, because I think it's a case-by-case basis. Anyways. So basically, if you played the Joe Burrow double in tournaments in week 5, you were set up to ship. It was really that simple, because the other quarterbacks who went off on the slate, like Joe Flacco, Pittman and Josh Downs, they were good, but not great. Alec Pierce got a bunch. Molly Cox got some. Trevor Lawrence was another quarterback who went nuke, but he got outscored by Burrow, and Christian Kirk didn't do enough to really hit as part of a double stack. So I had 6 tournament teams on Sunday. One of them, of course, was the Burrow double, was probably the most live that I've been for a really big score since that 2021 game. This was in the FanDuel 222 and the FanDuel $15 flagship GPP on FanDuel. So Burrow double. Burrow was just 4% owned. Jamar Chase was just 10%. T. Higgins 8%. I think all 3 were slightly overpriced, which left them lightly owned. Zay Flowers, bring back. Definitely don't have to bring it back with a team like the Ravens and a throw-heavy team like the Bengals. But I liked Zay Flowers anyways in a vacuum here. Bengals D is so bad. And we had Zay at 4% projected ownership on FanDuel. He came in at 6%. So I knew, based on our projected ownership, that the Burrow double and Flowers would be contrarian. So I thought I could put some chalk around it. Went with the chalk tight end and Tucker Kraft. Made him a mini stack with Kyron Williams from that same game. Best way to fit that was the punt running back play with Tyrone Tracy at running back. So maybe after that, maybe 2 mistakes here on the initial lineup. The team was already pretty contrarian, but I still went for Jerome Ford. And just unnecessary, I think, given the state of the Browns team and given what else I had around Jerome Ford already in terms of contrarian pieces. I could have done something else instead of Patriots at DST and then gotten up to DeAndre Swift or Chuba Hubbard, and that would have been way better. So like I said, I had Patriots, who I really did like against Tyler Huntley, but I could have saved some money with Broncos or Commanders, who were the obvious cash game defenses. Broncos ended up coming in at 31% owned. Patriots were 6%. I certainly prefer the Patriots at those ownerships, but yeah, results were bad. And by not going down to Broncos or Commanders, it kept me from getting up from Ford to a chalkier, better running back play like Chuba or Swift. So, anyways, as the early games were winding down, the 1 p.m. games, I had the dud from Ford. I didn't have DJ Moore or Brian. I didn't have DJ Moore or Brian Thomas Jr. But otherwise, I had pretty close to like the perfect start, the nut start. So now the question becomes, do I swap? I was in like 30 something place at the time out of 5,000, had 3 guys left in my lineup. New mega chalk was coming. I had already used 3 wide receiver spots. The only spots left were Kyron Williams at running back, Tucker Kraft at tight end, and Tyrone Tracy in the flex. I decided that to go for first, I should consider going for max leverage off the Green Bay pass catcher stuff, off of Reed, off of Wicks, off of Love. So I looked at what I could do with Josh Jacobs lineups, and Josh Jacobs plus Najee Harris fit perfectly over Kyron Williams and Tyrone Tracy. And we had Jacobs and Najee's side with a higher ceiling projection also. So I made the swap there, just trying to have the most solid team, with the best projection, best ceiling, and also get some leverage with Jacobs. Well, as the results went out, if I hadn't swapped, I would have gotten 6th place for 20K or something like that. Instead, Najee did his normal plotting Najee nonsense, and I got 23rd for 2K. Not a huge deal. Not like the swap cost me 200K or a million or something that I couldn't live with, but still not great. Which brings me to a question that I get a lot. Ricky actually submitted this week. Ricky said, "Hey, Adam, question for the pod tomorrow. I late swapped out of a top 5 finish this week. Has this happened to you in the past? And has your late swap ROI typically worked out?" I wish I had a good answer for you, Ricky. This swap stuff is really, really hard. Actually, when the swapping is easy, it's when you have a shitty team. I played Josh Allen at 1 p.m. Well, at that point, you better get real weird on your swaps. Without a doubt that you are massively behind. You're playing chalk at 4 p.m. That's not going to do anything. You need to play someone at 5% owned and have him go off and the chalk fail. That's like your only hope to cash from there. And it's also easy to swap in head-to-heads. You can just look at your opponent's team, figure out based on salary remaining who they have left, see if you should block or swap off being blocked. But in these spots, when you have a good team that maybe can win, but you're not quite sure, there's a ton of games left, you're not sure what everyone else has, it's just hard. When Al Zeidenfeld won the million back in, I think it was 2016 probably or something like that. This was when DraftKings included Sunday Night Football on their main slate. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he had, I think it was Eddie Lacy or some fat hog that he had in his flex for the last spot. He brought it up in our chat, and I think everyone said, nah, we got to go for a higher ceiling player here, go for first. And I think he went to Jordy Nelson or Devontae Adams or something and won the million because of it. But there's not some formula, that it's just super incomplete info. In hindsight, for me, I hate that I swapped onto Najee. It's just so fucking hard for that slob to hit a big ceiling, even when he gets 20 plus touches like I thought that he would. And especially with Justin Fields there to steal rushing TDs at the goal line. But I also wasn't sure on Tyrone Tracy. I thought it was a little bit risky. There's some chance that Eric Gray plays more than we think. There's some chance that the Giants go to Seattle without Neighbors and just faceplant, score 6 points or something. So I don't know. It's pretty disappointing because last 2 weeks I felt like I had some real chances in tournaments, but coming up just short. It's just so hard to get into those spots. I hate not closing them, but thus is the life of a humble king GPP bro. You're not going to believe this, guys, but I was a 2v2 away. Oh, one other thing on tournaments I want to note was something I've been thinking for a while. Prior to last season, I would never play something like running back and wide receiver from the same team without their quarterback or someone from the opposing team. For example, I would never think to play Josh Jacobs and Jaden Reed without Jordan Love or without a Ram. Or I wouldn't think to play DeAndre Swift and DJ Moore on the same team without Kalen Williams or without a Panther. But I have noticed that the Sims really like that stuff a lot. And I see tons of winning lineups with it now. It's just an example of something that I can't get my head around. My brain is too small to think that both these guys can hit their top 1% outcome in the same game without also needing the quarterback. Thinking on it more though, I guess the reason that it can work and the Sims do like it is because we already often need outlier team performances as a whole to win a GPP. And when that happens, say the Packers score 6 touchdowns in a game, it's pretty likely that both Jacobs and Jaden Reed can have outlier outcomes. So that's one thing that I'm going to start mixing in some. Think it makes sense. It's similar to like the poker solver stuff. My P brain can't fathom 5 betting, ace wheel suited hands as a balance to 5 bets with my top hands. But when you actually sim out, tens of thousands of times, you can see stuff that most humans, including myself, can't grasp. Cash. As for Cash in week 5, did pretty well on both sites, had Broncos defense and Tucker Craft on both, which I think most other people did, but not everyone. And that, of course, made a big difference. You can read the article on the site for more. It was a weird cash slate, I thought, especially on DraftKings, as I didn't really want to pay up for anyone. And it left me in a weird spot where I had money because I was more than willing to play Tyrone Tracy and Jordan Whittington 4,300 and 4,600, but certainly didn't need to. And so I ended up not playing Tyrone Tracy, which looks really bad now. But man, when the game started and Eric Gray was out there a ton, I was thinking, man, I'm sharp not taking on that Tyrone Tracy risk. The real issue from Cash I wanted to get to was the Deebo Samuel stuff. So we had a big projection on Deebo Samuel here. We checked it a bunch of times. We made tweaks. Even though, as we talked about on Friday, I know Dink and Leone covered it on ETM, talked about it Sunday morning. The Deebo stuff was still in our optimals. But the hard truth is that there's more to it than just one number, the base projection, which is why I'm always IKBing. I'm always I know bettering stuff, and I encourage people to do the same as long as you're smart and you know what you're doing and it makes sense. In this case, in the Deebo case, I just didn't feel great about playing any of the Niners pass catchers in cash when everyone was healthy. Kittle, Deebo, Ayuk were all out there. And Juwan Jennings has been doing a great job earning targets this season also. I think that matters. And so there's no doubt Deebo's ceiling is massive. But man, it's just really volatile. Like his projection is going to be more volatile than other guys because it is based on efficiency. It can't be that much projectable volume. There's just so many guys that need to get fed and they're also efficient. And the play count can get low for the 49ers also. I also thought, that although it's hard to project and it really impossible to project, my vibes were that there was some pendulum swing coming back to Brandon Ayuk, who had been a non-factor for much of the year. We talked about that a bunch on the shows. And so, yeah, even though Deebo was in our quote unquote optimal lineup, if you ran it through the optimizer, I had no problem fading him. The funny part is I do this stuff all the time. I IKB stuff, I go off vibes. And when it doesn't work, as it often doesn't, no one says anything except, wow, Adams lost it. He's over the hill. He didn't even play the team that projected 2 points clear of his, et cetera, which I get, honestly. And honestly, I get all sides of this. It's just nuanced, which of course makes it hard. I really do try to go out of my way to be clear when I think I'm going to IKB something. But it's just such a tough thing too, because my vibes-based takes are so often wrong. I mean, the IKB world is a wild world. It's also the most fun world. I know that we take all this stuff super seriously, but sometimes you have a feeling, can't express it in data, just a feeling, and playing that feeling and living with the results, almost makes me feel alive. So it's so funny. Like the team that I ended up playing was like 1 point off the optimal, which in a big event game like the NFL, that's literally nothing. So I hope all that makes sense. I mean, I'm happy to talk through that more or anything. But yeah, the Deebo stuff it's just hard. It's harder than it seems to get the right number on something as volatile as 49ers stuff and Deebo stuff specifically. All right. Need to get to listener questions, but before I do, a few things. First, NBA starts on October 22nd. If you want to play NBA best ball, if you have a season-long NBA fantasy league, We have you covered there with 2 products up on the site right now. NBA DFS and NBA player props are also coming. Dink and his team have you covered. Gallagher, truly the best. These guys are like the best I've ever seen at projecting NBA. It is far different than NFL. We can be very, very exact. And there's such a big moat, like the competition for NBA projecting at a really high level. There's such a moat because it's so hard to do. I mean, you need a full team 24/7 working on this stuff. Also, today's program is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. I mentioned that NBA Best Ball, and they also have they have NBA Best Ball there. They also have $5 buy-in snake draft tournament every week in NFL called the Battle Royale. That's getting massive. We have ranks and analysis for that. Also, if you've never tried Underdog, promo code ETR for a deposit bonus. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. All right, enough is enough. It is time for everyone's favorite portion of the program, the listener questions. All right, appreciate the questions from everyone. Got a ton of them on Twitter. Going to do 5 today. We'll hit some more next week. Question 1 from Sam says, advice on buying an engagement ring. Oh, yes, Sam, you have come to the right place. I have a lot of takes here. First, let me say this on engagement rings. The whole thing is very clearly incredibly stupid. In order to marry someone, you're telling me I need to bend over and take it from the diamond industry, from the jewelry industry, who are almost certainly jacking up prices on unsuspecting fish like me, who are doing shady things. I mean, come on. I've seen blood diamond. Any industry where the price is negotiable, we're talking about, I don't know, cars, diamonds, it just rubs me the wrong way. It's just the worst. I'm not a negotiator. I don't want to walk into a store and have to haggle with someone. Just tell me how much the fucking thing costs, and then I'll go compare it to someone else, or I'll say, all right, that sounds fine, and I'll buy it. My point, though, is more, I don't think anyone should feel like they have to spend a bunch of money on a stupid diamond ring to marry someone. You're busto. You can only afford something that costs $100 or $200. If it's the right girl, she will not care. She just wants to be with you. That's it. The ring, it's just, I know that sounds cliche to say, but like, if you have a girl, she'll be upset. If you don't have some diamond engagement ring, might not be the one to marry. I honestly believe that. Now, let me tell you my experience, because I honestly misplayed the hand like really badly. I mean, really badly. So my mom had a friend in the jewelry business. I thought, oh, this is great. I grew up with these people. I know for sure I'm not going to get ripped off. I'll get a fair deal. And I did get a fair deal. The woman was great. The problem was she coached me, she groomed me into some very high quality diamond. Oh, Adam, you don't get it. Size doesn't matter. It's about the quality of the diamond. Oh no, Adam, you can't get a grade T diamond at S1I clarity or whatever. It's huge, but it's not high quality enough, Adam. It's not high quality enough. And I thought to myself, yeah, I don't know if I see it like that, but you're the expert, and I don't want some shitbag diamond. You're the jeweler. I didn't have a lot of money. In order to get the high quality diamond she was talking about, it would have to be relatively small, which made intuitive sense to me. I mean, standard in a lot of businesses. Can you pull, there's levers you can pull, size versus quality, right? You can pull the higher quality lever, then you get less of the product. That made sense. So whatever. So I say, fine, you're the jeweler, quality matters. Okay. So then I get the ring. I do the whole, fucking humiliating one knee proposal. Goes great. Wife says she loves the ring. Then some of her friends start getting engaged, and they're getting these massive rocks, like massive rocks. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I know I'm a Pez, right? But these slobs are totally fucking busto. The fuck is going on here? How did they get such big rocks for their engagement rings? So I asked these dudes, and they said, yeah, I didn't spend that much. I just asked for the biggest diamond they had for my budget, regardless of quality. So now they look like some fucking big baller when in fact they spent less than me. Okay. But the quality, I told myself, Adam, you have the quality. What these fucking jewelers never tell you is that you can't tell the difference. Your wife can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference. No normal person, not me, not you, can look at a ring and tell you that that one is shitty quality. Oh, but that one's pristine. The only person that can actually tell is the fucking jeweler with their little mini telescope eyeglass thing. They can tell. Your girl's walking down the street, she's with her friends. No one can fucking tell. All they say is, oh, yeah, you have a small ring. And it's like, oh, you have a small ring. Oh, hold on. You don't get it. I don't have a small ring. Let me go into my purse, take these papers out that prove what the jeweler said. It's actually the best quality ring. Actually, even better. You stay right there. I'm going to go get you that telescope thing. I think it's called a loop. The jewelers call it a loop. I'm going to get you a loop so that you can examine the ring and see how flawless this diamond is for yourself. Of course, no one's doing that. All they're doing is walking down the street and they're saying, oh, look, she's got a little shitbag ring and some other girl's got some massive one, which actually costs less. I mean, it's so fucking stupid. The fact that I'm even like getting agitated about this pisses me off because the whole thing is so fucking stupid. It's a horrible tradition of people spending their last dollar on rings. I really against it. But last point on it, it's like the same things as suits and other things. It's like a if you know situation. Only people in the men's fashion business know the difference between a suit that costs $5,000 at some fancy store and some suit at Men's Warehouse. And who the fuck cares about the people in the business? When I go to a wedding, no one knows if my suit is Johnny Versus or if it's Men's Warehouse. So anyway, I got to get off this. I'm getting all riled up. Anyway, my point here, Sam, is that if you think bigger is better, and I know a lot of women do not let the jeweler bros talk you into this high quality nonsense because literally no one can tell the difference. All right, I got to move on. Question 2 from Cody. He says, Adam, from one GPP bro to another, what do we do about the Tucker Kraft situation? Opto and hand-build toilet bros both knew he was a strong play. With many factors working in his favor, is it better to block instead of fade? Wish I could spend these Skolansky bucks somewhere. Yes, greetings, Cody, my fellow King GPP bro. So I'm not certain I follow the question here. Are you saying that you thought Tucker Kraft was a fade or a sharp fade this week in tournaments? Well, let's look at the $333 buy-in Wildcat on DraftKings. Tucker Kraft was 37% owned there at 3,500. No Christian Watson, no Dobbs. Luke Musgrave, very shaky. Luke Musgrave actually ended up not playing a snap, I believe. Jordan Love against the Rams was certainly a good spot. And given the state of pricing the tight end position, my gut was actually Tucker Kraft at 37% was fine. In fact, I'd say almost any player at any ownership is fine as long as the team around it makes sense. I can play a 50% owned Tucker Kraft if I have a contrarian stack, maintain low product ownership, have correlation with him, etc. And I think, again, that's where the sim stuff can help. It's really hard for our brains to figure out, oh, this guy is a good play at 25%, but what about 40%? And what kind of teams does he need to be on if he's going to be 40%? So, yeah, I think the point is we just need to get out of our heads. X guy's owned a ton. He's an auto fade in tournaments. Like, I just don't think that that's right. And I've done that way too much in the past. Like the sim, and you can see if you care to look at this sim stuff, you can go to Solver, go to subscribe tab on ETR. There's a link to the Solver stuff there. You can check out more details if you want the sim add-on. But it's showing a lot about playing chalk and how it's actually right and can be good, is good in the right lineups. Question 3 from Last Steve says, some mornings I wake up and wish I still worked at a high-paying 9-to-5 job with severance so I could get fired and get 3 to 6 months paid vacation. What type of golden parachute severance have you negotiated with your fellow ETR shareholders? I mean, it's just such an incredible thought to have, Last Steve. You want to go get a stiff job with the intention of being fired and collecting unemployment or some other severance package. I think that's what he's saying. I mean, amazing. What a world. I get it. Honestly, it does sound great. But yeah, that's certainly a notable aspect of small business stuff. There's no vacation, there's no 9-to-5. I think all of us consider ourselves, quote unquote, on 24/7, 365. Someone needs something. It's Saturday night at 11 o'clock, is what it is. There's no severance. There's no HR department to even offer severance. And I think it's just another example with like small business versus corporate life of just life being about trade-offs. I see people all the time. They say, man, I hate my job. I want to make more money, whatever. But they also want to show up to work at 9, go home at 5, turn their phone off, start drinking and fucking and binge watching the latest girl goes to island and pipes 100 dudes or whatever it is that normal humans do after work, which I'm totally fine with. In fact, I'm jealous of these people. They're certainly much happier than me. I'm a miserable prick. But yeah, when you do the small business route, one of the trade-offs is no golden parachute, no parachute at all. Uh, if you find one though, last Steve, I'd love to hop on. Question 4 from Andrew says, could you comment on DraftKings withdrawing from the United Kingdom? And if possible, give a view on why you think they did this. Thanks. Yeah, so brutal, man. I was actually sad about it. I got maybe 10 or 15 messages on that first day from people in the United Kingdom. I mean, they just like literally woke up, got an email from DraftKings saying, we're pulling out. You're not gonna be able to play fantasy in the UK anymore. And some of these messages that I got from people were really heartfelt. I got one message from Richard. He said, hi, ETR team. I just want to reach out and say a huge thank you to everyone at ETR as this marks the end of an era for me. As a UK-based subscriber, I woke up this morning to a message from DraftKings informing me they will no longer be offering fantasy sports to customers in Great Britain, effective immediately. He went on to say how much success he's had playing DFS and betting props. But this part of his note, meant the most to me. He said, on a personal note, my DFS journey began by chance in 2016 when DraftKings arrived in the UK. I started hunting for content. I found Adam's podcast in the Apple Store and haven't looked back since. I know Adam has mentioned receiving this type of feedback before, but for me, the connection goes beyond grinding DFS. As a 40-year-old husband and dad, the life insights and shared experiences from the entire team have resonated with me deeply. Fantasy football and football in general seems to be the perfect metaphor for many of life's moments. I'm not ashamed to say that I had some difficult times, wisdom shared. Thanks to Leone for the inspiration to learn tools like Google Data Studio, R, and Python. Thanks to Evan for keeping things pure and a constant reminder why I love the NFL. And he went on. In short, ETR has provided more than fantasy analysis. It's delivered valuable life lessons. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. It's just a shame that DraftKings has pulled that platform out from under me. Yeah, I mean, really appreciate the note, Richard. Really do, man. Thank you. Like, I got a bunch of notes like that from United Kingdom people. It's a bit like, being at our own funeral. The big question, of course, as Andrew asked, is why? Why did DraftKings do this? I honestly don't know. I don't know anything beyond what they've said publicly. And what they said publicly was the decision is part of a broader strategy to prioritize resources where the company sees the highest growth potential. The market exit is part of the company's ongoing efforts to optimize the business. So I read that as, hey, DFS in the United Kingdom and Europe as a whole doesn't make us much money. It's expensive with all the regulations. We might as well just shut it down and focus on those people and money and put all that stuff in developers, put all that stuff at sports betting because that's a higher growth business. That's going to be a higher margin business, whatever they think, which, as someone who loves DFS and isn't that into sports betting, it's sad. It really is. I get it from a business perspective. And when you are a public company with shareholders, you have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for those shareholders. But yeah, it's shitty. It's shitty for the people in the United Kingdom. I wish I had an answer for people looking for alternatives there. I don't want to shill some company that I don't know or I don't trust. I can't face, shilling some company I don't know and then they get rugged. So hopefully someone reputable steps up and offers DFS to our friends in the United Kingdom. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Just really feel bad. Question 5 from Jacob. He says, what's the minimum amount of money you would accept to refrain from all gambling activity, DFS, poker, props, etc., for the rest of your life? Yeah, so I get this question all the time. I'm honestly not sure why people are fascinated by it. I've been gambling seriously since 2003. We're going on 21 years now. there's some part of me that thinks I should do something different. I should do something else, something completely new to just explore my life and my brain more. But the other part of me is like, man, I really love this stuff. And like my favorite things to do are try to figure out strategy and execution in these peer to peer games around sports or whatever else. So, and I actually think that that's good for long term health. Like when I was playing a lot of poker, I would all the time see these old, retired, very successful, rich guys playing relatively low stakes for how much money they have. And I think, why? Why are they doing this? You're not playing for money. You don't need it. You want to sit in this disgusting casino and play poker against a bunch of grinders. But then I talked to them and I realized they're doing it to keep their mind sharp. Like there's definitely research out there that says your brain is like anything else. If you do not use it, it will deteriorate faster. I don't know how true that is, but it makes some sense. Like a surefire way to not be able to run anymore as you get older is to stop running. A surefire way to stop being able to think sharply is to just sit around and watch TV all day and not use your brain. And poker, I mean, certainly makes you use your brain a lot. Anyway, the other part of this for me is I think I need to be playing, right? Like I need to be in the streets to do what I do for ETR. I don't see how it could be possible for me to do this podcast or really do anything, tweet or anything if I wasn't actually playing because I wouldn't care. I wouldn't be looking at how many routes Cole Kmet was running versus Gerald Everett if I wasn't playing. Like, I love you guys, but I'm just not that interested unless I have my own cock on the line. And so, Jacob, with all that in mind, for me to stop all this, it would have to be a huge number because in my pathetic life, I don't really have anything else that I can or like to do other than open a doggy daycare center, which remains firmly in the plans. All right. Oh, last thought on the United Kingdom stuff. Just hit me. Just move. It's beautiful out here in Colorado. It's enough already. They're gonna try to take away your DFS. Say fuck you. I'm moving. All right. That is gonna do it for this week's solo pod. We'll be back later today with Daigle for the waiver wire show. Later tonight with Silva for team by team analysis of week 5. For in-season subscribers, first run of week 6 projections will be out Wednesday night. And then Friday night, myself, Silva, and Wiggins talking every player in every week 6 game. For producer Luke, for Jerry, the most beautiful beast in the world, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.